Hello, how's everybody doing out there? I'm going to be working on haircut today. The haircut that I'm going to be working on is a triangular long layer or an A-line long layer. So this means that the length will be on a person below the shoulders and the layering will flow forward. So all the weight will be swinging towards the face. I think it's really important to acknowledge that when we cut hair, it's important to understand the different shapes that we're cutting. You know, square is a static shape. You can style it forward or back. Round will always tend to flow off the face, and triangular will always tend to travel towards the face. And this can be effective, you know, not just in A-line bobs, but in longer hair as well. If somebody's hairline is finer, you may want that weight to swing forward. You may want to take out more weight in the back and create more movement in the back, moving to less movement in the front and stronger corners. It's all about design elements. There's never a right or wrong. It's either working or not working. One of the things that we're going to be doing with this, because this isn't a person, because it's a mannequin head, is that we're going to be doing all of these haircuts cutting from the inside out. So when I've been working primarily with students, I generally teach from the outside in. That's generally the way I was taught. Again, it's not right or wrong. If I wanted a softer perimeter, I do it from the inside out. But what this means is that as opposed to putting in our length line first and then filling in the interior shape, we're going to be working totally filling in the interior shape, and then we'll put in the length as an afterthought in the long hair haircuts that I'll be doing with mannequin heads. We cannot cut a good or proper or precise one length on hair that's below the shoulders on a mannequin head, so why even try? We'll focus on the interior technique. When we get back into working with actual people and live models, then we'll really work on the technique of how to accomplish this type of a perimeter line on a person if we wanted a strong line to hold up what the interior shape will be. So the very first section that we're going to take, as you can see, I've already divided the head up. I have a center part for the purposes of this haircut. I haven't done an off-center part. I have it divided right down the center from dividing left from right, and I also have the parting right through the crown, or what wants to. I try and always determine what wants to live in the back from what wants to live in the front. That's where I determine where this cutoff is, and then I'll also always end it right at what would be the mastoid process bone right here. And that's dividing what wants to live in the front from what wants to live in the back. The very first section we're going to be taking is a triangular pie-shaped section down the center middle. As I always do, I always honor the way the hair grows a little bit. As you can see, this veers off a little bit to the side. See how that wants to really live over there? And this is more straight down because this hair wants to live more straight. But it's still in a pie-shaped section, as you can see. So with this first section, the way we'll take this is, and now this is the discipline of cutting hair from the inside out, and this will be, you know, all of the challenge in a sense, is to make sure that you have enough perimeter line dropping out. Generally speaking, as long as you do your layering starting at the occipital bone and above, generally speaking, enough perimeter length drops out. A mannequin heads a little bit differently. I'm not going to micromanage that so much, but I will say really strive to keep your layering from the occipital bone and up at that point. I may even go a little bit higher than that, but I want to cut off enough so that you can actually see the technique. So I have it over directed and elevated to this place. See how I can start seeing? Boom, right there. I have enough perimeter length dropping out, and now I can cut my technique right here with my triangular layer. Here we go. And now I'll make sure that that is a precise cut, because this is my guide cut, and when that's right, the whole rest of the haircut will be right from that place. So I always make sure that that is precise as possible, and it is as precise as I can make possible, so I will move forward. This goes down. This is our first section. We can bring that a little bit closer just so we're clear. We're not going to be operating in pivoting sections. We're going to be operating in forward diagonal sections. So the next section will sit next to this first section. It goes forward diagonal. So as we can see, this is section 2, this is section 1. Now what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be over directing section 2 to section 1, cutting section, guide section. But I will be connecting it with the top of the section. And my fingers will be held vertical even though the sectioning is forward diagonal. What this does is if my fingers are holding it vertical, it makes the bottom of the section over-directed some, creating that triangular forward swing as it moves to the perimeter length. You'll see as we move through this section. See how my fingers are vertical to the section? Do me a favor, put the, see, and if I travel my fingers straight back, look at where they land. See how all this bit got over-directed? Right? I'm connecting vertically through the top of the section, not through the bottom of the section, yeah? There, I can see my guide. Make sure that I ran out of hair actually. There, a couple little guys wanted to leave. There we go. There. Next section is 3. This is section 3. This is section 2. Section 3 will be over-directed to the top part of the section 2 forward diagonal section. Right? 3 to 2. And then see, my fingers are vertical. My fingers are not forward diagonal. My fingers are vertical. I want, as it moves to the bottom of the section, I want it to swing forward, creating that triangular feel, yeah? Section 3, and I have a little bit of section 4 here. See that? Little mini section, right? And again, see it's all forward diagonals, the sectioning, but that's allowing that swing. But again, and I keep repeating this, but it's so important. That's why the sections are forward diagonal, but the finger angle is straight vertical. It's really important. So the bottom of the section gets over-directed slightly, so it creates that forward movement moving towards the face. See? And then if I just reverse engineer this, just so you can all see it one more time, see where my fingers go back in the section? Right to the top of the section. See how much over direction there was in the bottom of section 4? But it's connected in the top. Now I re-establish my guide section, center section. There, I'll move this a little bit like so, right? There. And then I take section 2 and I do the exact same thing on the other side. Section 2 will be over-directed to section 1. Actually, I should be like this, right? There. All right, there we go. Good? All right, thank you, Una. Everybody give Una a round of applause. Yes! Filming this. Like Francis Ford Coppola of Haircut Education. Yes.
Not quite.
There we go. Yes, you are. There we go. Right? Section 2 over-directed to the top of section 1. Section 2 is a forward diagonal, not a pivoting section. There. Section 2. Now I establish section 3. See, forward diagonal. I will be over-directing to the top of the section. Fingers will be vertical, not tilted forward, not mimicking the section. Vertical. Section is forward diagonal. Fingers are straight vertical. I keep repeating that, but that's the trick of this technique. And that will be where the difficulty lies. We'll be able to check up and catch up on all this, as you do your work. And really, that's the discipline of it, actually, is that seeing the section being in one direction, being forward diagonal, but then keeping disciplined enough to make sure that your finger angles still stay straight vertical. There we go. There's a little extra guy right there. Boom. There we are. Right. Perfect. See, and length dropped out. Again, it's a mannequin head. What I'm going to wind up doing is I'm going to wind up blow drying it. I'm actually going to wind up flat ironing it, and then I'm going to put my perimeter line in, and I'll show you the finished product when I'm all done with that. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to move into the sides. All right? So here, come in close. The sides. This is the section that's dividing front from back, yeah? So now we go into a forward diagonal here. Okay? There. Now, move the camera up on top. I take a little cross section of the back. This will be my guide to length. Okay? So this is my guide to length, and this is my cutting section. All right? Now, this is the tricky part about this technique. Okay? I'm going to stand over here. So usually what winds up happening when I'm connecting the front layering to the back layering is I'm holding the section directly over this major section that divides front from back, right here, right? But when we're working with a triangular long layer so that we encourage more forward flow, remember how I was layering it out here? I will now over direct this side section and connect it back here like this, okay? And that will encourage the forward flow of the movement. The more I over direct it away from where it's going to be, the more it will flow into it, yeah? Remember, short pushes long. That's the way hair cutting works, all right? So it won't be right above the section that's dividing front from back. It will be actually over directed back here where my last elevation was of my back layering, like this. Stay right there. So I'm clear. Usually this is what we would normally do. For triangular long layer, we are remembering that last elevation in the back, and we over direct to that to encourage the forward swing. And I make sure that the front hairline drops out. I don't want to cut away my front. See, all that stuff dropped out, yeah? Okay, there's my guide to length, there's my first section. Now my second section, it won't pivot, it will be another forward diagonal. Section 2, section 1, guide section. Can you see that? Section 1, guide to length. Section 2, forward diagonal, cross section, guide to length in the back. All of this will be over directed all to the initial. It will all be going all to the same place. None of it will be following. It's not a traveling guide. It's a stationary guide. Everything gets over directed back to here, that last highest elevation. So that means I'm combing section 2, section 1, and my guide section all together and bringing them back to that highest elevation. See how I'm a lot further back from here? But remember, when I was doing my back layering, I was out here like this. So see, it's at the exact same place that my back layering was connected to, yeah? And then I'll take this last little front bit. And as I was saying, this gets over directed back to the initial. Everything back to the stationary guide is what we call it, yeah? Notice I also turned my comb to the wide teeth. It was a lot of hair to comb in fine teeth. So I didn't want to lose my ability to control it or to accurately comb through it. So for that last one with the whole section, I moved to the wider teeth, not the finer teeth. See how it all swings forward? You'll see it better when I flat iron it so you can really see the movement. Now just to reiterate the point, first section. Guide section. For me as a right-handed cutter, for the left side, I will stand in front of the mannequin, model, person, whatever. And I will comb it back, remember, to that last elevation of the layers. Right? And just to reiterate this point again, this is over-directed back to that last elevation. Normally, I would be connecting it over here. But to increase the forward swing, I over-direct it further back from this initial, for the major section, that's dividing the front from the back. Guide section, first section, section 2, all the way back to the stationary guide. There. Back to that last elevation in the back, over directing it back to that place so that I make sure I get that forward flow to this haircut, the movement. That's what the shapes are all about. Now I'll take this last little bit. If this was a human being, I might split this up, but in this instance, it's not necessary. And there we are. All right, so that's the technique for it. I'm going to blow dry it for everybody right now. I'm going to blow dry it nice and smooth. I'm going to flat iron it, but not like pencils. You know how I like it, with just a little bit of bevel in it. I don't want to suck the style out of it, but I want to be able to see the movement. And I also, from that place, want to then cut in my perimeter line. I'll make it a little bit fun. Maybe I'll make it a little bit more dramatic than necessary. But that's what we can do when we cut with a mannequin. All right, so try this out first, and then in a second, like I say, I'm going to put this together, and then you'll see the finished look in but a moment. All right, I hope that worked, and I hope that's clear.
Great.
Cool. Hey, how's everybody doing? So this is a finished look. As you can see, I flat ironed it. I blew dried it, then flat ironed it. I think it was the best way to show the shape. I did the perimeter line, as we can see here. You can bring that a little bit closer. I cut the back shorter than the front. See how it arcs? Honestly, I flat ironed it and I just carved it in just at a zero hang. However, if you did want to cut this in your fingers, what you always want to do when you're cutting in your fingers, always make sure that the comb is entering in at 90. Come over here, Una. Make sure that the comb is entering in at 90, combing all the way down, and then grabbing the hair at this place and then cutting. None of this. If you do that, all the hair will always flip out like the flying nun. So you want to make sure the comb enters in at 90. You comb all the way straight down. You control with your fingers. And then I cut from that place. Okay? If you cut in your fingers, that's essential. The flipping thing, it encourages movement, yeah? All right. And in fact, look, I'll show you a little bit of the way it moves. As you can see, I was going to do a slow motion. Maybe I'll tag it in there. I'll do a slow motion with the blow dryer, fine, if I'm feeling fancy. But do you see how I have the shorter layers in the back, and then the strength moves to the front? See that? It's hard to see because it's a mannequin, but you can see it. I can see it. Look closer, right? And I only did a little bit of face framing there just because the hairs were so weak. I just face framed it, and there you go. Because again, back to mannequin. Another thing that's really interesting about this technique that I think is really cool is, do you notice how even though it's longer, you still create a nice head-shaped silhouette? Right? That's something that this works really well with when you're dealing with longer hair as well. You can actually carve in or cut in a silhouette as opposed to just a bunch of movement, depending on where you decide to place your layering and where that falls into. Yeah? Awesome. So this is the triangular long layer. As we can see again, let's just make sure that we're really using the same techniques that we went through in this video. When you're cutting hair at home, try and create a space for yourself so that you can actually use the correct body mechanics. Remember, your accuracy in your technique, and whether you're going to learn this with muscle memory, is going to be that you do the same thing consistently, and that body mechanic is always on point. We've all gone through the journey of the dropped elbows with the one lengths and all this other stuff. So just always try and maintain that posture, even in your apartment, while you're working out this technique. I look forward to connecting with everybody on Thursday so that we can have our questions. Please look at this video however many times you need to, and then come prepared on Thursday with questions so that I can make sure that we straighten out anything that may be inhibiting your confidence in giving this a shot. And I'm going to keep this mannequin head styled like this so that when we do connect on Thursday, I can resection and I can really go through and show you everything that I did. Whatever question you may have, I want to make sure that I'm able to support you and make things super clear. Hope everybody's staying safe. Hope you're all staying healthy. I'll talk to you all soon. Later.